Hello. Tonight's story is called The Wolf Who Had Never Eaten Cake. Every year, on the longest and warmest day of the summer, was the Horsmar Lonapool Fete. It was held in the meadows by Bluebell Wood, and there were rides and games and food and animals you could make friends with. In fact, a lot of the animals only came to the fete so they could learn to make friends with the humans. But the best thing about the treasure hunt, better than the rides, better than the candy floss, was the treasure hunt. Mayor Dubbin stood on his stage and rang his mayor bell. "Hear ye," he said. "The treasure hunt begins at 3. The rules were that one child and one adult would make a team, and then you were given a clue, and then you had to go off and find more clues in order to find the treasure. This year, Mummy had made a team with Vela, and they were determined to find the treasure first. At 3 o'clock, Mayor Dubbin got back onto the stage and rang his bell as loud as he could. Hear ye, the first clue doth come from me." Everybody listened very carefully. "Go to a place where machines sleep." Mummy looked at Vela. Where machines sleep? Well, that didn't make any sense. But Vela thought she knew the answer. "Think, Mummy, where are we? In the countryside. And what machines live in the countryside? Tractors and combine harvesters. And where do they sleep? In a barn." Well, Mummy thought that Vela might be right. And there, down the very end of the meadows, they spotted a large red barn. And they ran towards it while everybody else was still trying to figure out the clue. Inside the barn, it was dark and a bit damp. A shadow of a mouse ran across a wall, and a large red tractor stood silently. But there, by the front wheel of the tractor, was an envelope. The second clue. Mummy and Vela ran towards it. Mummy ripped it open and Vela read it. "Find me where the grass goes as high as the sky." Well, that didn't make any sense either. Grass can't go as high as the sky. But then Vela had an idea. "Think, Mummy, we're in the countryside. Where does grass go really high? A haystack, of course." Well, Mummy was impressed. They ran outside the barn, and there, next to it, as high as a house, was an enormous haystack. They climbed to the top, and there was the third envelope. This time, Mummy read it. "Go where tree is a crowd." Where tree is a crowd? "Where there's a crowd of trees," said Vela. "Where is there a crowd of Bluebell Wood? We have to go to Bluebell Wood." Vela was very good at working out clues. Bluebell Wood was so called because every spring the ground was completely blue. Every single bit was covered in brilliant flowering bluebells. But today the wood felt dark and a bit gloomy, even a bit scary. But Mummy and Vela ventured in bravely. Then they heard a wooing sound, but it was only an owl up in the treetops. Then they heard a rustling sound by their feet, but it was only Anthony the squirrel burying his winter food. But then they heard a crying sound, as if somebody was upset. "It's only the wind up in the trees," said Mummy, feeling a little bit scared. But there it was again. A crying sound. Somebody was upset. Somebody must need their help. Vela and Mummy moved quickly, following the sound of the crying, until they came out into a clearing. And there, sat on a log, all by himself, was a wolf. Mummy was a little bit wary of wolves, but Vela wasn't. "What's the matter?" Vela asked. The wolf didn't even look up. "It's my birthday," he said.
And I don't have anyone to have a birthday party with.
What's your name? Said Mummy.
Wally,
Said Wally.
Wally Wolf. But you see, people think wolves are mean and scary, but, well, I'm not mean or scary. I just wanted someone to have a birthday party with.
It was a sad, sad sight. But Vela had an idea. Come on, Mummy, quickly, she said. And they ran away from Wally, out of the wood, across the meadows, back to the fete, where Mayor Dubbin was just about to announce the winner of the best cake competition. Vela ran up onto the stage all by herself and took the microphone. Everybody listen, she said. There's an emergency. I need everybody's help. Well, 3 minutes later, everybody from the fete was crossing the meadows and entered Bluebell Wood. Vela led them to the clearing where they'd found Wally. But it was empty. Wally had gone. OK, said Mummy, everybody stay right where you are. And she and Vela ran into the dark wood, shouting, Wally! Wally! Soon they came across a cave. It was a wolf's lair. They went inside the darkness, and there, right at the back, was Wally, sobbing. They looked around. The only thing on the wall was a small calendar with today's date circled in red pen. He must have been really looking forward to his birthday, mustn't he?
Why did you come back?
Asked Wally. I've got a surprise for you, Wally, said Vela.
A surprise?
Follow me. Reluctantly, Wally followed Mummy and Vela all the way back through the wood to the clearing with the log in it. And when they got there, somebody was in for a very big surprise. Vela was, because in the time that she and Mummy had been away finding Wally, everybody had put up tents and rides and candy floss stalls. Vela was pretty good at getting stuff done, but even she was impressed by this. She and Mummy stood aside to let Wally see for himself.
Oh, you're having a party, he said. Would you like me to help pick up the litter afterwards?
It's your party, Wally, said Vela. It's your birthday party. And 500 people shouted, Happy birthday, Wally! Well, not only was this the best birthday party Wally the Wolf had ever had, it was also the first birthday party he had ever had. And here's your cake, said Vela.
A rake? I don't need a rake,
said Wally. A cake, said Vela.
What's a cake?
Everybody fell silent. They realised at that moment that not only had this poor wolf never had a birthday party, he had never in his whole life tasted cake. But this was the best cake at the fete. This was the winning cake. And Mayor Dubbin cut him a huge slice to try. Well, Wally couldn't believe what he was tasting. He couldn't believe there were so many people here. He couldn't believe that finally he had friends. And so, from that year forth, the Horsmar Lonnapole fete wasn't held in the meadows. It was held in the clearing in Bluebell Wood. And that meant that every single year, Wally had the best birthday party ever, with all the cake he could eat. Sweet night.